Before, when we were working with probabilities, we had a bunch of raw data that we added together and then we divided by how many there were, right? Well, sometimes we're just given the probabilities and not the raw data. How would we find a mean? Well, I'll show you how. Let's say our x equals the number of free throws made in a basketball game. You can either make 0 out of 2, 1 out of 2, or 2 out of 2, both of them. The probabilities of that, let's say the probability of making 0, we'll say that's 10%. The probability of making at least 1, well, we'll call that 50%. The probability of making 2, well, that's going to be 40%. So, how would we find the mean? Well, it's the summation of x times p of x. Let's work it out. 0 times 10% is still 0. 1 times 50% is still 50%. 2 times 40% is 0.8. What's our next step? Well, we multiplied the x times the probability. Now all we have to do is find the summation. 0.5 plus 0.8 equals 1.3. And that would be our mean. Well, we found our mean using probabilities. What about the standard deviation? Well, here's the formula. You take the square root of the summation of x squared times the probability minus the mean that we had already found. Let's do it. So we know our x squared, 0 squared is still 0. The probability is still 10%. 1 squared is 1 times 50%. 2 squared is 4 times 40%. So let's find out what these equal. 0 is still 0. 50%. 4 times 0.4 is 1.6. 1.6 plus 0.5 is 2.1. So we got our x squares, we multiplied by the probability, and we got the summation. What's next? We have to subtract the mean. Our mean is 1.3. Subtract 1.3. 2.1 minus 1.3 is 0.8. We're still not quite done yet. We have to take the square root. Let's do that. Taking the square root of 0.8, we get just about 0.89. And that would be our standard deviation.